please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Here.
Joe Crowell,
Present.
Jerry Sartain, Joe Machoto,
Here.
Michael Rather, Jared Barrett,
Here.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
All voting members are present. We do have a quorum, sir.
Okay, all of our regular voting members are here. We'll be voting on each item. Just a reminder to all of us, we have the minutes that were sent out to us. Are there any changes or additions to these minutes? Corrections? I have a motion that they be approved.
I make a motion to be approved as presented.
We have a motion that be approved. Do we have
I
a second?
second it. I second it.
Who was the second? Joe Machoto.
Joe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. We will have another meeting for one item next Wednesday, so put that on your calendar. Let me welcome each of you here today and give you a little explanation of how we will proceed with each one of the items that comes before the board. We will have a brief report from our staff on each item. After that, we'll ask those of you who have a request before the board to come to the podium and give us any additional information, or you may have to answer a few questions. It won't be painful. And after that presentation, we will open it for a public hearing for those of you who would like to make a statement to the board before we make any kind of recommendation on these requests. So you come to the podium, give us your name, and then the information. We ask that you keep that within 3 minutes. Most of these items we have reviewed thoroughly, and we're pretty knowledgeable about them, but we do want input from the community in which this request is being made. The first item we have is a request by Robert McClung, who is requesting a reduction in the yard setback. What do you have on that?
Application 2011-47 filed by Robert McClung involves the property located at 1049 Air Court. It's a .79 acre parcel located in a residential 15 zone. He is seeking variance relief for a 2-foot reduction from the 5-foot minimum side yard setback for detached accessory structures for property located in the R15 zone. This structure was actually built in 2005 with a building permit, and it was thought to be in compliance with the 5-foot setback for detached accessory structures. It was not until this year, when a survey was performed for a neighboring property, that it was discovered the garage was within the 5-foot requirement, and he is now seeking an after-the-fact variance for an additional 2 feet to allow the garage to remain in its current location. And staff finds that it meets most of the criteria. It would be extraordinarily difficult for this particular structure to become compliant with our regulations. As you can see, it's a garage that's been there for a while, and we've not had any complaints or concerns up until being alerted this year when the survey was performed that there was a violation. So everyone proceeded over the last 5 years thinking it was in compliance. These are just photos of the surrounding area, and staff recommends approval. We posted the sign on the property.
Okay. Do we have one here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Just speak into the microphone where everyone can hear you.
My name is Robert McClung, and I'm the owner of the property. Like the application says, when we first started building the garage, we thought we had the clearance. We were mistaken by a stake in the ground, thinking that was the property line. And my neighbor on the side, Mr. Norfleet, is I think he's getting ready to sell his property, and he had it surveyed, and that's when we discovered that we were short on the property line.
Have any questions? Jerry?
Does your neighbor have any objection to your garage?
He has not indicated such, no, sir. And he's been there the whole time we've been there.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing.
In addition to, one of the stipulations was I have a shed on the opposite side of the property, and we have moved that since then. It has been moved.
Okay. We'll open this for a public hearing. Go ahead, be seated. For anyone who'd like to speak on this request.
I'm Robert McConnell. I'm a neighbor of Bob's, for the record. It's a beautiful garage. We all live on a little cul-de-sac here, and we would really hate to see Bob have to go to the time and the expense to move that. It's a very nice looking structure, and I know all of my neighbors very well, and as far as I'm concerned, I don't really see that there's any problem with where it's at, and I'd like to ask the board and Mr. Cantrell and everyone to please allow him to leave it the way that it is. Thank you.
Wait just a minute, Robert. Any questions of Robert while he's up here? Thank you, Robert.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to be approved.
Second.
Have a second. Jerry Sertain. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain. Yes. Thane Cantrell.
Yes,
Motion carries, sir.
it is approved. The next item we have is a request by Kevin Buck requesting a temporary conditional use permit. What do you have on that?
Application 2011-48, filed by Kevin Buck, involves the property located at 305 Double Springs Road. It's an 11.8 acre parcel, and it's zoned residential 15. He is seeking temporary conditional use permit to establish a seasonal haunted woods and corn maze, and with variance relief from the development standard requiring double bituminous parking areas in the R15 zone. This is a temporary conditional use permit only for the month of October. In 2010, the board approved the same request, allowing him to have the temporary conditional use last year, and there were no complaints associated with this proposed use. He's proposing the same hours. Access will be off John Bragg Highway. And these are photos of the site. As you can see, it involves a total of 2 parcels, but that makes up the 11 acres. And these are photos of the John Bragg area from the site itself. We posted a sign on the site. Property located across the street. And this is his concept plan showing where the parking will be located and the actual attraction. And staff recommends approval with conditions.
Okay. Do we have anyone here representing this request?
My name is Kevin Buck, and I'm here to get a seasonal rezone for this property so I can actually hold a seasonal haunted house corn maze there as I did last year on this property off John Brake Highway.
Any questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We're pretty well familiar with your operation out there. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it. Joe?
I move to approve it.
We have a motion to be approved. And remember, all of these approvals with the recommendation that the staff has made on those. We have a second. Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Thane Cantrell.
Yes,
Motion carries, sir.
it is approved. Ready for the next item.
Yes, sir. Application 2000.
Wait just a minute.
Sorry.
Stephen Piercy, who is requesting a temporary conditional use permit. And this is also a relief from the parking area, so that it'll be one motion, both of these relief from parking. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Application 2011-49, filed by Stephen Piercy, involves the property located at 7721 Valley View Road. It's a 20-acre site, zone residential 15. He is seeking temporary conditional use permit to establish a corn maze and variance relief from the development standard requiring double bituminous parking areas in the R15 zone. Apparently, in 2008, he received approval in application 2008-76 for a 2-year request. We do not typically issue a 2-year request for the seasonal uses, and we are not recommending the issuance of a 2-year request in this application, only annual requests. But he is seeking the same hours of operation, days. Signage will have to comply with, our sign regulations, but what he was proposing seemed to fall within what was permitted. These are photos of the site, the existing agricultural building that's on the property. We posted a sign on the property, various photos of the site as well as the surrounding area. No record of any complaints of the past 2 years when the operation was in place. However, we have received one call in concern. And staff is recommending approval with conditions. And that is his layout. Of
Okay.
his
Have
concept.
someone here representing these.
My name is Steve Piercy. I'm here to represent this request for our corn maze. As she stated, we were here 3 years ago. We were unable to have our corn maze last year because we lost the lease on our property. Since that time, we have purchased this property for our family farm. We're not going to live on it at this time. We're just really interested in farming the land and having a corn maze. As she spoke a while ago, last 2 years we had it. We had no opposition. We're good neighbors with everybody there in the community. I've been in the community going on 53 years now, so I'm not a new guy. I've been to every household that faces our property. We have 8 houses. We have a lot of road frontage on this parcel of land. It's roughly 20 acres. Out of the 8 houses, I have written permission on this paper. Be glad to have everybody a copy if you'd like to have it. For permission for the corn maze permit, they have no objection to our corn maze. If I can answer any questions for you, I'd be glad
If you'll,
to.
leave it.
I left one thing out, excuse me. I had one gentleman that had some concerns. My commissioner and myself and my wife and my son went and met with him yesterday afternoon. We tried to work through the issues that he had the best we could and still operate our facility. Some things are workable and some things are not. We worked it out the best we could. We asked him to sign our request and he refused, said he might come to the meeting. And we've we've done about all we can.
Okay, would you leave a copy of that with our secretary there, please? Do we have any questions? Hold up a minute, we may have some questions. Any questions from the board? Joe?
When you operated this before, did you have any problems at all?
Not at all. On the weekends, we'd even go to the extent of hiring an off-duty county officer for security reasons to keep all of the trouble out of the gate. With security there and a car there, if trouble comes in, they just leave. And I'm calling trouble like drinking or troublemakers or whatever. We're targeting the young family and small children age, and we're trying to be very family oriented, and we want to keep it as safe as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I'll make a motion to be approved.
Have a motion to be approved.
I'll second the motion.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Kroll,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain, Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Okay, it is approved. The next item is a request by James Jacobs. There's a request for a temporary conditional permit allowing a barrel pit. What do you have on that?
Application 2011-50, filed by James Jacobs, involves the property located at John Bragg Highway and Woodcraft Road. It's a 22-acre site, zone residential 15. They are seeking temporary conditional use permit allowing a burrow pit with relief from the setback and area requirements for burrow pits in the R15 zone. It is their intention to bring the entire property to grade in order to make it marketable for the possible sale of the property in the future. This will involve affecting most of the property. As you can see by the aerial shots, that a portion of the property has already been disturbed, or resources have been extracted from this property already. The applicant has met with planning and engineering staff, and they will be subject to all of the conditions that we've listed in this in our recommendations for burrow pits, which involves a reclamation plan, engineered plans, dust and sediment control. They will be subject to hours of operation. They would have to get all related permits. If there's any blasting to take place, they will have to get the appropriate permits from the state agencies. This is a 9-month permit, so the applicant anticipates that this work will occur over a period of several years, and they understand that they would have to come before the board again next year, or once the 9-month permit is expired, if you should approve it. The site has been approved for temporary extraction of resources in the past, and we've listed those permits in the staff report. So staff is recommending approval. These are photos of the surrounding area. It's John Bragg Highway and the area of our haunted woods corn maze site we just looked at. And you can see that there's a lot of rock already on the site, and that area has been disturbed. They've submitted a plan, which I passed out a copy to each of you. We have a full size here if you'd like to look at it. Of course, engineering will also have to take that into consideration if you approve it. They will still have to approve the work. It'll have to meet their standards. And these are just a close-up of the area that's disturbed, just the contours of the property, and then the contours for the overall site. Kind of difficult to see on this, I know. And then the site itself. We posted a sign on the property. We've received a couple informational calls, but no one indicated that any opposition. Had a couple questions from surrounding neighbors, and that concludes our presentation.
Okay, just a reminder, this also includes a setback on the property request. Do we have anyone here representing this barrel pit?
I'm James Jacobs, and I'm the one requesting the permit.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Jacobs, in this, I saw where you have we had some discussion about you wanting on the setbacks. Are y'all just trying to get this property, what are you trying to really do right here?
We're just trying to get the property to grade. It'll be about a foot below the road, and all the water will flow into the property, and won't be no release of water on that property. But pretty much all we're trying to do is just to level the property out. The setback you're talking about is probably in the front where the big rock wall is. That's probably what you're talking about there.
Okay. In the site survey, it shows where it's got like requires like a 20-foot buffer of vegetation. Now, with y'all leveling this property and the setback reliefs, are y'all going to disturb that 20-foot buffer?
No, sir, not on the sides or the back. And in the front, eventually, not no time soon, but in the front, it'll eventually be disturbed because the front of the property is probably 20 foot taller than what the highway is.
Okay, so in other words, y'all are just wanting to be able to have the relief from this so you can just really kind of level all this site out for you, for commercial, for further development or whatever.
Yes, sir.
I see, thank you.
Jerry?
Yes, sir. Could you explain how you're going to extract that material? I mean, it's rock.
We'll drill and shoot it.
I think if you look in our conditions, there is no blasting.
No blasting on that site.
Well, we don't approve or disapprove blasting. What you have to do is get a state permit to be able to do that.
Right. Yes,
Okay?
sir.
Do you have that state permit?
Well,
You haven't requested it yet.
No, sir, we haven't requested it yet.
Do you have machinery on the site that would crush the rock?
No, sir.
Okay. Joe?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Mr. Jacobs, the property owners that join this property, will they be a cliff or will you be level going into their property, all other owners?
With on the
Any owner that touches your property, will you be level or will you leave a cliff for them? Or
no, sir, it won't be a cliff. No, sir.
it just be level with their property?
It should be on the topo on that.
It'll be level with their property, all property.
I'd have to look at the topo before I answer that directly.
Okay.
On the
We just received this afternoon. So.
If I own property next to you, am I going to have a drop off from my property to your property?
The gentle slope is what it shows on the plans.
I'm hard of hearing.
A gentle slope is what it shows on the
Be a
plans.
gradual slope.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Jerry?
Mr. Chairman, for it or against it, I'd just call your attention to page 3 on the conditions, and it specifically talks about blasting in hours and such, and that's going to we'll have to do something with that.
That'll have to be resolved, yes.
Well,
You want to speak to that?
yes, the conditions just limit the hours of blasting to those daytime hours as opposed to any nighttime blasting. So it's not prohibiting him from being able to blast at all. It's just limiting the hours. He'll still have to get the permits from the state and do it in accordance with those agencies that regulate blasting. So.
Does that answer your question, Jerry? We don't have the authority to approve or disapprove blasting.
That's correct.
It's not within our realm to do that. We can make recommendations to them, but then they have to go through the same process with the state, and it's my understanding they hold hearings on that or any.
We're regulated by the state what
Yeah.
we can and can't do.
Yeah.
Each time we blast, there'll be a seismograph there. Every property owner that touches it will have their house inspected prior to us doing any work. So every time if we pulled a shot today at 3 o'clock, we would have the readings for that shot. So it's everything's recorded.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I know this conditional use permit, Ms. Jacobs, is for 9 months. I'm sure you're going, do you have any estimated time of the whole length of the project?
Oh, no, a lot of it just depends on how much of shot rock we can move out of there.
Right.
I mean, I could tell you, if stuff went good, 6 months we could be in and out, or it might be 3 years. It
Right.
just depends on how the sell of shot rock to get the property level would make the difference on that.
I understand. All right, so thank you.
Joe?
The pictures that she showed a while ago of the equipment that's already in there, have you been doing the work before?
No, sir, that was a prior contractor.
Okay. So, but you're going to be doing this?
Yes, sir, we'll be doing it now.
Okay. Thank you.
Jerry?
Will there be any kind of a crusher on site?
No, sir, no crusher on site.
Any other question?
Y'all had passed a law against that. There's a law passed against crushing on site and moving the material.
Most of the material, I understand this would be your first involvement in this site, but normally in your sites, most of the materials are moved where? Off of the site, but where?
If it's a cut site, yes, sir.
Pardon me?
If it's a cut site, they're moved off site, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Please come on around.
My name is James R. Harris. My property adjoins this land on that narrow section at the top left. I have 2.16 acres. You can see my house and garage up there at the top. We've been there 20 years. I've been making improvements as I can, and I'm concerned about this. My wife called earlier, the number in here, and she was told that there would not be any blasting. I did want to come, though, and hear more about it. I'm not real happy with what I want to know, really, is that little narrow section on the top left. Is that going to be disturbed? And how so? There's a fence row down through there. Lots of trees. I don't suppose the trees are going to be disturbed. We've got like a privacy barrier all the way across there we really want to keep. And I'm not too happy with hearing all this talk about blasting. I think it was the Fair Brothers that owned that property at one time, and they did some blasting back there, and some of my neighbors had some damage. We didn't, luckily. But, okay, there's also a few houses that face that little narrow section on the other side, at the bottom of that narrow section. There's a little road that's an extension of Woodcraft Drive through there, and that's their only means of coming in and out. I don't know if any of them are here, but I would like to hear some more about what you have in mind for that section in particular, that narrow section top left. Mr. Jacobs, please. Yeah.
I think you're probably going to have to meet with these folks out there to get that kind of information. It looks like it's going to be a long discussion too. I don't know if that's above your property or if that needs to be leveled. If it doesn't need to be leveled, according to what he testified, then there would be no reason for them to do that. And it'd be no reason for them to cut the trees down in there. Now, your other question about they're shooting that, that's going to happen if they get a permit from the state.
Right.
They're not getting a permit from Rutherford County.
Yeah, I know. There's not much you can do about it.
No.
Except claim damages if it happens.
Yeah, if it happens, that's right.
Okay. Just to answer his question. The applicant has indicated they're not even touching that portion of the property that touches Woodcraft.
They've indicated that, but we can't give you that guarantee. But if I were you, I'd certainly meet with these folks out there and let this be known. You can always come back to us, okay? To these folks, give them a call, and if we need to review this again, we'll do that. Okay? But a lot of this stuff depends on how good a neighbor they want to be to you. But we certainly understand your question. Board, do you have any questions at this point? They've been I'm sorry, if you'd come back. Have you had trouble before with the extraction that goes out there?
No.
It's been pretty...
It's been smooth.
Smooth.
Like I say, a while back, a few years ago, they did some blasting, but it wasn't a lot, and it didn't damage my house. But some of the neighbors said they had some damage. The neighbor right across the street from me, around the curve there at Woodcraft. No, you know, I would suppose they'd be coming in and out from the John Bragg Highway down here, right? Okay. And this little road that is an extension of Woodcraft would be left alone.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk to him.
I think that answers a lot of your question, but you really need to sit down with these folks out there and talk.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to speak on something what he brought up, and I don't know if he's aware of it.
Go ahead.
I am just aware about, I do know what the regulations are when the state requires folks to do blasting. They'll, especially when there's any residential area that's adjacent to the property, they'll make them go out and put out seismographic equipment so they can monitor what's going on there. So, I know if he still has damage, you'll have to claim that, but it's just not like they just turn them loose and just let them go blasting. So.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Joe? Turn your mic on.
Could you have Mr. Jacobs come back up? I'd like to ask him one question.
Mr. Jacobs?
Could you come here, please, sir? What do you have plans for this narrow section here?
Nothing. That's what they're trying to tell those.
You're not going to do anything?
There'll be a rock barn built right there to keep anybody from being able to come in.
How much blasting do you think you would be doing?
That right there shows about 6 or 7 foot cut right through the center. And to answer his question about the blasting,
You're not going to do anything to the narrow section, and how much blasting are you going to do?
no, sir, won't be any blasting on the narrow section at all. And right there where the narrow section comes into the big section will be a rock berm about 10 foot tall built there to keep anybody from being able to come into the site from that area. Everything will be on and off John Bragg Highway. No access whatsoever the other way.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Any other question?
So in other words, that narrow section there, that was an entry
Yes,
way
sir.
at one time. So you're saying you're going to block that up and put about a 10-foot berm so there will be
Right.
no entry there.
Right.
And so all that row of vegetation, what he's talking about, all that, none of that will be disturbed.
No, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I think you alluded to this earlier. I may have missed it, or I want to clarify it. Your grading plan that we have here is, Danielle, is that with the big paper you folded out a while ago? This is what you're working on to grade this property, correct?
Yes, sir. It'll eventually be like that. Yes, sir.
Okay. And it does show on all sides a 20-foot vegetation buffer to remain,
Yes, sir.
with the exception of that little gap there at that narrow.
Right. All of it will
Yeah.
stay exactly. It's going to grow up, but it'll stay exactly like it is now.
You're not,
yes,
you're
sir.
not going to touch any
No,
of that?
sir. There
Okay.
won't even be any access in and out that way at all.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. Anyone else who wants to speak on this? Close the public hearing. We have a motion on
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to be approved.
I'll second.
Have a second. Jerry Sartain. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
It is approved. The next item we have is a request by Rebecca Williams requesting a conditional use permit to establish a daycare. What do you have on?
Okay. Application 2011-51, filed by Rebecca Williams, involves the property located at 3420 Still Horse Court. It's a 2.1 acre parcel that is zoned residential 15. Ms. Williams is seeking conditional use permit to establish a daycare for up to 7 children for a property located in the R15 zone. She currently has a type 1 permit allowing her to keep 4 children, and to be able to keep up to 7 children, she needs a type 2, which she is appearing before you for tonight. We've included the hours of operation she's proposing. She has been operating at the site for at least over a year, but she is permitted for 4, and that permit was received in June. Just to let you know, we have received some information since the packets were distributed, and that information was given to you tonight. But just to sum up the information, we received 8 letters in support of her services from parents who have used her services, 9 signatures in support of her proposed use. In opposition, we have received 2 letters of opposition with an additional petition in opposition with 18 signatures, and of those 18 signatures, 2 of those signatures represented the letters that we received, so they provided information for both the letters and signatures. And then we received 2 calls, 1 in opposition and 1 informational regarding her proposed use. She will need to receive approval from the Tennessee Department of Human Services for the establishment of a family daycare for up to 7 children. And we are recommending in our conditions that this license, before she actually establishes the use or increases the number to 7, that's provided for our records should the board approve her proposed use. So I'll briefly go over the surrounding photos of the surrounding area and the neighborhood. And this is an adjacent property. This is the subject property and her drive and turnaround area. This is the play area that she has proposed or established already, the site. And just a conceptual plan showing the existing structures, the parking area, and the play area. And she has notified all her parents that they cannot use the cul-de-sac to drop off and pick up the children, that she has provided them an ingress-egress plan. And I also distributed that to you in the pre-meeting. This represents the signatures in favor and against. Her property is in the blue shade, and I don't know what it looks like up on the screen, but you have the maps. I've printed a copy for each of you. There was one address we could not verify. We suspect that it's 352 versus 252. We kind of shaded it a different color because we could not find a 252 Linford who someone signed their name with that address. But you can see the ones in green are in support of her request. And that concludes our presentation.
Okay, she's currently operating daycare with 4 children, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and that doesn't come to us.
Right. If she is
so she's wanting to add 3 additional children.
That's correct.
Okay. Do we have anyone here representing this request?
I'm Rebecca Williams, and I'm submitted this. Sorry, I get nervous.
Okay. Did you have any additional information you wanted to share with the board?
I sent I have a really hard time talking in front of people, so I sent in a letter that I think you may have gotten from me. If you have
Yes,
any
we
questions or
did.
anything, I'll answer. Be happy to answer them.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Jerry?
Yes, ma'am. It certainly seems like there's a lot more divisive opinions about this than we would normally get for something like this.
I was unaware of that also. I don't know what that's about. I don't know why. We, like it shows, we're on a cul-de-sac. We border a tree line and an empty lot, and nobody directly around me is even home during the day. They're small children. We play outside for an hour in the morning. I think the biggest concern was the traffic and parking on the court and dropping off and picking up children there. And my parents have all been very compliant. We've gone over this with them. They have ample space to pull into the driveway, turn around, pick up their children, and leave without backing into the court.
So you're not aware of why the discord?
I truly am not. I had no idea. I'm shocked, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Ms. Williams, I know you have 2.1 acres. Where does these children stay? In a fenced-in area, in your house, or do they roam the whole 2.1 acres?
We have an area in my house that I've put a lot of work into making a classroom and a room for them. I have previous child care experience. I was a director at a center. I do curriculum teaching.
You're saying they stay inside all the time?
They stay inside. We play outside in the fenced-in play area about an hour a day.
Is that play area fenced or the whole 2.1 acres?
Yeah, there was a picture of it. The whole thing is fenced in.
I'm not with you.
Yes.
The whole 2.1 acres is fenced?
No. Just the play area.
The playground.
The playground in the play area.
Thank you a lot.
Joe?
You have about 9 or 10 pieces of property that adjoin you. Have you talked to all of your neighbors about this?
We have. We actually talked to all of our neighbors before we started doing this, and there was no opposition. I would have probably pursued it harder. I had no idea there was so much opposition. I know there are a couple of houses that would have signed probably for me on my petition. I didn't realize that it was going to be, a back and forth like this. Other than one neighbor, I was unaware that there were any other complaints, and I've talked to all the surrounding areas. They have not had a problem. They don't understand why there would be a problem. So that's what I know, or have been told.
One other question. When they bring in the children, is there enough room in your driveway for them to turn around and drive back out of the driveway?
Yes. And
Keith.
I just have a couple of questions, Ms. Williams. How long have you resided here at the residence? How long have you lived there?
I have been here for 10 years. My husband has been here 15,
Okay.
16 years.
Okay. And before you'd requested the 7, you had, I know you don't, once you request over the 4, you have to have, you had to come for the request, but where you already had the 4, how long have you been having the daycare?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half. No problems?
Not that I was aware of.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions? Michael?
Ms. Williams, if I'm looking at this correctly, there are 3 driveways that go into the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
Correct? Of the children that you keep at your home, are there any that are siblings where maybe, a car comes and picks up 2?
No, there's
So
not.
you would have 7 more cars pull in there?
In total,
Yeah,
yes.
If all 7 kids are there that day.
Yes. I also submitted some sign-in sheets. It's rare on occasion, more than 1 car will come at a time. Normally, there's only 1 car at a time that comes to pick up a child, and leaves. It's, you know, in a small window in the morning and then again in the afternoon. Nobody's home in the morning on our court, so it's not a problem. I'm guessing that the traffic is a issue in the afternoon, so.
You've not had a traffic accident on the cul-de-sac?
No, no.
Joe?
One other question. How many children do you have that reside in the home?
We have 2 that reside in the home. One is in high school and one is in 3rd grade. They are not home during the day.
Thank you.
Just one other question. So in other words, you're going to increase from 4 to 7. So in other words, that would just increase the amount of vehicles, 3 more in the morning, 3 more in the afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Of those 3, are they, any of them brothers or sisters? Are they all individuals?
They are all individual children.
Okay. Joe?
I got one more question for Danielle. Danielle, this drawing shows one, Ms. Williams. On this cul-de-sac.
Turn your microphone on, Joe.
Ms. Williams on this cul-de-sac, and the one other one who is against you, and the other's vacant lots, am I correct?
Yes. They are owned by the
2 people behind them.
directly behind them who signed the petition but did not know the address for that lot.
So actually, there's only 2 people on this cul-de-sac, you and the one that does not want you to have this.
And there's someone directly across from us, and they didn't want to really be involved either way, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you'll come around, please.
My name is Randolph Andrews. I live at 3430 Steel Horse Court.
Go ahead.
I'd like to say that I'm opposed to this application. The reason for my opposition to it is I've seen the operation for the past year and a half, and I know that there's a tremendous amount of traffic increase. I believe that this traffic increase probably increases the potential for accidents. When you go 7 cars in and out per day on this 250-foot street, that's 7,200 cars a year extra. I've seen the people that drop off the children. Sometimes they come in speeding too fast, and they load and unload the children. I've seen them load and unload children out in the cul-de-sac, in the street. And I tried to talk once before about some of these issues. I've seen cars come in way too fast. I think that the whole idea of having a daycare in this subdivision, in this little cul-de-sac that's so small with only 3 houses, if a person was looking for a home to buy, a person was thinking about selling one. If you're looking to buy a home and you're looking for a secluded area, or if you're looking for a place with less traffic and a little more privacy, I think it would degrade the property value somewhat, or it might turn someone against maybe thinking about purchasing. These are concerns that I have. I know that we have to have daycare services, and I know that we need people to take care of our children. But I've been here for 20 years, and I bought that house when it was brand new, and that's the reason I bought it, is because it was private. It was a small area, small subdivision with only 3 houses. It's a residential area, and this is strictly a business venture. This is just for profit. There's no preschool children on our street at all. There's been some talk from other folks over there pertaining to this thing that the extra traffic interferes with some of their activities. But that's for them to talk about, not for me. But that's pretty much about all I have. And
Any questions?
Have one. Where do you live, and what is your address? Where do you live?
3430 Steel Horse.
Okay, so you're the one right on the corner as you turn on to the cul-de-sac?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thanks, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one other question. I spoke to the applicant earlier, and she's requesting to add the children. She's had that day, excuse me, she's had that daycare for a year. Of course, you're right there beside her. Have you had any problems with the daycare? I mean,
the only problem, I'm
talking about since she's been running it for the year. Have you had any problems?
It's been in operation for a year and a half. I think probably the most, I don't know how many children exactly were there, but it had gotten to a point where that there was way more than 7. I know that for sure. There were way more than 7. And that was where the problem come about. It got to a point where I have seen as many as 6 cars in the cul-de-sac parked, going in to pick up their children. And that's where that's how it originated. It's just all that extra traffic, all that extra cars in and out. And they do, you know, they come in, they're in a hurry, they're dropping off their children, they're going to work, they're in a hurry to pick them up. And it's just a 250-foot street, and people are coming in at a pretty good rate. But one of my biggest concerns is the fact that the cul-de-sac coming out and finding a cul-de-sac line with cars.
So in other words, your major concern about this thing is the traffic?
Yes.
The amount of traffic it's creating?
Yes.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Any other question? Joe?
I got a question, Mr. Chairman. How much noise did they generate the past year and a half?
I'm not there during the day, and I leave for work pretty early. I don't notice any noise per se that would be aggravating to me in that respect.
So it's just the 7 cars that you're concerned about?
Excuse me?
It's just the 7 cars twice a day that you're concerned about?
Well, this is the first time it's came to this point where that there's a limit that's going to be put on the number of cars that come in and out.
And I don't mean to keep beating the horse to death or anything, but I want to make sure I'm getting all the facts. So in other words, and the reason I'm asking you because you're right here, right next to their property. So in other words, you wouldn't notice if cars or I mean, when you came home in the afternoon, that's when you would mainly notice when the pickup of children would be.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know who with these cars coming in and out, like I said, these people are coming in to bring their children, drop them off. I don't know if the people that are coming in are dropping children off or if they're going out, or whether or not they're just
visiting,
going through, whatever.
Right.
I don't know all that, but I do see a lot of it.
Well, the reason I'm asking you this because you just said, you alluded to that you were at work during the day, during the daytime, so you really wouldn't know what was. And I'm just saying, you said a lot of vehicles there. If you would notice those vehicles, those would just be maybe when you come home from work and you would notice a lot of vehicles there. I'm just asking you that question.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I understand. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. Next. Anyone else?
My name is Vicki Williams, and I live at 223 Linford Drive, and I've lived there for 21 years, and I also built my home when the neighborhood was just developing. It does cause an increase in traffic. I walk for exercise in the morning, and I avoid that cul-de-sac because of concern for safety for myself. I have seen several vehicles in the cul-de-sac, parked in the cul-de-sac. I have seen them pulled in the driveway. They back out of the driveway into the cul-de-sac. And I just think that Also, there's a chance of decrease in property value because of having a business in the neighborhood. And also, I think it opens the door for other businesses in the neighborhood. And it's a residential neighborhood, and I'd like for it to stay that way.
Let me make one statement about your request there. This doesn't open the door for any other business. Each request, that's one of the beauties of the BZA, each request has to stand on its own.
Okay.
So that you can rest assured, just because it's operational there, that it would mean that we'd have to approve another one. That doesn't happen that way. Mm-hmm. Another thing, now she can have 4 children.
Right.
You know, we're not doing away with the business one
Right.
way or the other. So she's asking for additional 3 children to be there, and she can't have any more than 7.
Right.
Okay. And even though this may be approved, let me also remind all of you of this. If it doesn't work out, regardless of what happens, you can always ask for a review. Call the codes department, ask for a review if there's any violation of the standards that are set.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
Was she in violation in operating it for the year and a half?
If she had more than 4 children, she would be in violation.
Well, I would like to ask that question
Yes.
as to how many children she had in that year and a half.
Yeah. Well, she can only have up to 4. Okay?
Okay. Can I ask her that question?
You can
how
ask
many
her,
children?
but you would need to go
Oh, okay.
back there.
Okay.
Any
Mr. Chairman, I
questions
have a
from the
question.
board?
You live at 223?
Yes, sir.
You have seen any problem other than a few extra cars over the last year and a half? Noise?
No, I don't live close enough to hear.
So
the-
just the extra cars is all that you've noticed?
Yes.
No other problem?
No, sir.
Thank you a lot.
Any other questions? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mhm.
Anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I'll make a motion to be approved.
We have a motion to be approved.
Second.
Have a second. Jerry Sartain. Call the roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
No.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
It is approved. Were you ready for the next one? We have a request by Randy Robinson, who's requesting a conditional use approval this is to establish a major home-based business and storage. And the storage would be related to the equipment and be on the property. What do you have on that, please?
Application 2011-52, filed by Randy Robinson, involves the property located at 2760 Barfield Road. It's a 5.54 acre parcel, zone residential 15. Mr. Robinson is seeking conditional use approval to allow the establishment of a major home-based business and storage of related equipment on a property located in the R15 zone for a business which offers excavation services. As part of this, of course, they would like to have their office, ability to operate their office functions related to the excavation service business from their home, and that would be permitted by right. However, as part of this application, he is also seeking approval to park heavy vehicles on the property that are used in the excavation services. It includes a bulldozer, a track hoe, a lowboy trailer, and dump truck. It is the applicant's intentions to downsize and sell some of the heavier equipment from his business, but that the time is uncertain as to how long it will take him to sell that particular equipment that he currently owns in order for it to be removed from the site. They are seeking approval, though, once that equipment is sold, which he initially anticipated by the 1st of November, that only a bulldozer, a single axle dump truck, and tag trailer will be stored at the property when it's not on a job site. We've taken photos of the surrounding area. This is an aerial shot of the property. As you can see, the actual driveway is approximately 350 feet, and the parking area, the gravel parking area that he has now, is 350 feet off of Barfield Road. So, and there is vegetation there that shields the view from Barfield Road surrounding properties. We posted a sign on the site. Property is located across Barfield Road. Just a close-up of the site, looking north on Barfield. This is as you drive into the property, into the parking area, and he's got a structure. When we were reviewing the slides yesterday and we noticed the 2 tanks on the property, we requested the building official to look into this to see if there are any standards that may apply to fueling tanks, and he may be able to answer some questions. But the building official has recommended some conditions if we do approve the request, to incorporate that into the conditional use permit to make sure that any kind of regulations involving fueling facilities are covered. And this is the dump truck, some of the equipment and trailers. And a survey of the property showing the gravel area. And according to the applicant, he's been located at this site and has had his business and vehicles stored or heavy equipment stored at this site for 7 years with no problems, no complaints.
Okay, do we have someone here representing this request? If you come around, please.
Hi, I'm Jill Robinson. We are requesting the permission to continue our business at 2760 Barfield Road. We've had that business there for approximately 7 years, not knowing what we were in violation of having a home-based business at that property. And we're requesting permission to continue our business there and to continue parking our equipment there.
Will your equipment be parked in a undercover?
It is not.
It is not.
No, it is not. I did bring some pictures of what, and you had some of the same pictures there. This is what our property looks like now from the road. You can see that none of the equipment can be seen from anyone going down the road. This is taken directly at the end of the road. This is taken partway down the driveway. Because of the trees that are in the original picture, you can see some of the equipment as you pass down by the house. There is some bushes here. There's another row of trees here. The equipment is partially secluded by those trees. I'm sorry. Am I not loud enough? These pictures here are taken from our house, or this one actually is right where the driveway starts to open up and go to the, the long, narrow drive that was about 350 feet. This is where the driveway actually opens up to where the equipment is parked. This picture shows the equipment that's parked in the yard, and this picture is taken from the view of the side of our house directly to the equipment. The only people that really see the equipment is the house that's located behind here, and there's 2 houses there. One of those persons, well, we thought were going to be here, they've already contacted us and saying they have no problem with the equipment parked there at all. And this is just a close-up view of the equipment that's parked in the driveway.
Turn that. Okay. Thank you.
This gravel area was extended, as you see right there. It's extended back to where the equipment is actually secluded from view from the road by the row of trees.
One question. With your home-based business and your parking equipment there, how long have you had that there? Been doing that there?
I've lived at that property for about 18 years, but that was a previous life. Okay. So when my husband and I married, we've had this business here about 7 years.
About 7 years, and hadn't had any complaints or any problems?
Never, not one.
All right, ma'am, thank you.
We didn't know we were doing anything wrong.
I understand.
We were just trying to make a living.
Joe.
Ma'am, it says right here you have one part-time employee?
One part-time employee.
No other people come on?
No, sir. My
related
husband
to
is
this?
a
What type
sole-
of business is it?
It's an
dirt?
pardon me?
Dirt construction?
Excavation.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Joe?
Do you have a problem? I don't know whether you've seen this or not from the codes department, but
I'm
there's
sorry,
some,
I
there's some
can't.
there's some other items that will be included if we approve this from the codes department. One of them is the structures shall be permitted and inspected at their intended use and classification change, and the other one is you have some fuel dispensing tanks that shall be constructed and identified in accordance with the internal fire code. And also there's another one here about stormwater runoff. Will you have any problems meeting these?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding your question. The fuel tanks are already there.
Have you read the requirements? Have you studied the requirements that would, if this is approved, that would be included in this resolution?
I wasn't aware that there were any.
Okay.
This actually, information, those 3 conditions that the building department recommended were received this afternoon right before that.
Okay.
I haven't seen what you're.
Well, there's a copy of
Thank
them.
you. When you say all structures shall be permitted and inspected, there's no structures there. The equipment is not parked under a structure. The equipment's parked out in the open. So am I misunderstanding that statement?
Well, any structures that you construct that house the equipment proposed in the business would have to be permitted, and any future structures that you build on the property has to be permitted. So if the structures that you have on the property, they're the carport type structure is for personal use,
My
then
horse trade,
it would not, that condition only applies, would be included in the conditional use permit for the use that you are requesting.
Okay, that carport that you see there where the fuel tanks are beside is not used for the business. That's where my horse trailer's parked. So that's an agricultural. The equipment's never parked under there. It won't fit.
Okay.
This sounds like something that was hurriedly put together, so it's somewhat redundant.
You mean this?
Because if you do any building on that, you're going to have to get a permit anyway.
Right, I understand that.
I'm thinking the position that he was coming from was that structure was going to be changed from like an agricultural structure to a structure that housed the equipment.
No.
But that's not the case.
No.
And so it would not affect you. But future structures would have to get a permit.
We realize that if we decide to do anything additional and build any kind of structures, we have to have a permit. We know that.
I think the true concern was with those tanks, because it wasn't mentioned in the application that there are some kind of requirements for signage and other types of requirements that he referred to in his sheet of paper, that he just wanted to make sure that it was incorporated into the final order if approved.
Well, those are also used for agricultural use.
Okay. Keith, nothing. Joe, does that answer your question? Jerry?
Yeah, the only question I had, if we were to approve this, and it looks like from the road, you're pretty invisible, and the only people that might have a problem, like you said, was the side people.
Well, the only people that can see this equipment, you can't see actually in that picture there.
Yeah,
But I do have a picture showing their house back here in the corner. And these are the folks that did not have an opposition and.
You know, like you said, people have different lives. Would you be opposed if they asked you to plant a few trees there so they wouldn't have to look
I
at
would
it?
not.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you come around, please.
My name's Kerry Friels. I live at 103 Whittle Court. That is the back of my house that you see right there. I bought this house back in July. Actually didn't move into it till August of last year. Been living there a year. Got to know Randy since I've been living there. As far as any opposition as it being an eyesore or noise, Mr. Robinson seems to operate in a quiet, orderly manner. I appreciate him as a neighbor, and he's a good friend. He, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the finer residents here in Rutherford County. I have no opposition to this whatsoever, and I'd appreciate it if y'all would let him operate as he's been operating in the past.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
It is motion that it be approved. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Joe. The two Joes. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
I got a question before I vote. Does that include the additional requirements that the codes ask for?
We did not include those. And for, I think that probably needs further study, okay?
Yes.
Okay. We'll leave that as is. Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by the Swain Center, and this is a conditional use permit to establish a dormitory style center that offers alternative sentencing to DUI and reckless driving offenders. And this is in an industrial zone. What do you have on it?
Application 2011-46 filed by BMCT doing business as the Swain Center. Involves a property located off of Capitol Way. It's a 2-acre site in an industrial zone. They are seeking conditional use permit to establish a dormitory style center that offers an alternative sentencing program for DUI and reckless driving offenders in the industrial district. This application, you might be familiar with the operation. We just processed application 2011-37 requesting this same use, but it was proposed for a residentially zoned property. That request was denied. The applicant has found a site that has sewer services, water. It's located in an industrial district. The proposed use, if the board approves, it would need to receive approval from both the technical review for Rutherford County as well as the city of Murfreesboro. The site will have to be platted to represent, it's a portion of a 27-acre site, so it's a 2-acre portion of that, and we've highlighted that on the map. The facility will operate 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, and its maximum capacity of female and male is 40 persons. They are proposing to construct 3 buildings, an administrative residence, administrative office building and the residence, and 2 dorms, a male and female dorm. The sizes that we included in the staff report changed, but that has no bearing if, it doesn't affect any of the recommended conditions, so we just wanted to make a note of that. That was a late development. Staff is recommending approval. We have not received any phone calls regarding this particular request at this site, so involving this application. And these are photos of the surrounding area. It's got a paved street, curb. It's located across from RV cells. There are other industrial uses located within this area. We posted a sign on the property. This is a conceptual plan, so you should, I passed that out to you in the pre-meeting, as well as a elevation that looks a bit distorted. I passed it out to you. That elevation has changed to be more compatible with industrial type uses as opposed to the residential elevation that was presented to you in the prior application. And that concludes our presentation.
Okay, this has been before us before. Unless it's necessary, let's not get into a long drawn-out session on this. Do we have anyone representing this request? If you'll come around, please.
I'm not going to articulate as much as I did the last time.
If you'll give us your name
Bert
for the
McCarter,
record.
I'm sorry, Bert McCarter. I'm one of the proposed owners of this location. What I can tell the board is that we've really kind of heeded the advice of the board from the last time we were here 2 months ago, where we were really kind of pointed in this direction to find an industrial or some sort of commercial use. And we first contacted the gentleman, Mr. Jernigan, who represents that area, went to him first, talked to him, got his opinion. He quite frankly turned us on to Mr. Fair, who's here tonight, and we were able to find a location, the proposed location that we think fits our use. So I'm not going to really try to get into too much other than that. I do represent that, the Swaim Center, and if you've got any questions, I'm happy to field those at this time.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Joe? Joe, turn your microphone on, please.
Thank you for going to a better suited area for it, and I appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any others? Thank you. You may be seated. Let me open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it?
Make a motion, be approved.
Have a motion to be approved. Have a second by Jerry Sertain. We have reviewed this extensively, and I think this is the appropriate place for the center to be located. And let me also, on behalf of the board, thank you for working with us on this site. I have spoken to several of our judges in the county, and they really think that this is an appropriate operation. It's saving the county and the taxpayers a great deal of money each year, and this is an appropriate site for it to be located. And I want to commend all of you for working with the board in seeing that this was taking place. Even though I saw no reason why it couldn't be between two churches out there. That'd be an ideal place as far as I'm concerned, but we understand the problems of the community as well. So we're really thrilled that you all have found a home. Call a roll, please.
Keith Bratcher.
Yes.
Joe Crowell. Yes. Joe Machoto.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
It is unanimously approved by the board. Any other items of business? No, sir. We are adjourned. Thank you so much.